Hi, my name is Gabe Arnold. I'm the founder and CEO of Business Marketing Engine, or BME for short. And today I'm going to share with you 5 unusual ways to drive more traffic so your business grows. So stay tuned and I'll share them with you. So as we look at growing our businesses, as we're marketing, we're saying we want to grow more, we want to serve more people, we want to truly have the freedom of time, the freedom of money that we, dreamed of when we started our businesses. It's important to realize that we have to be able to have sustainable traffic sources. We have to be able to get in front of new people that haven't heard of us and share our value, our solutions, our products and services so that when they're ready, they can invest with us. And like we talked about yesterday on the show, if you're depending on one single channel for your business, I don't care if it's referrals, which people love, which are great, or Facebook ads, or any specific channel, if you're depending on one channel, you are going to hit some really rocky times. But if you expand and you master at least 2 different advertising channels, or you add in a third, or you build out multiple ways to bring in new prospects that can become your customers, then you're creating stability and you're going to weather the storms a lot easier. Challenges are going to come, no matter if it's economic challenges or challenges on an advertising platform or things that are happening in your business. But if you have a steady flow of new leads coming in and new prospects that you can talk to, you can overcome almost anything, because without sales, there is no business. With great sales, you can build any kind of business you want. And so these 5 unusual ways to drive traffic to your business so it can continue to grow. You may have heard of some of these or not, but my point today is to give you different ideas to think differently about this, because like we talked about on the show last week, being creative in marketing is about inputs. So the more inputs I can give you, the more creative output you'll have, and it may spark an idea or inspire you to move forward on something. And that's my goal today. The first thing that I would encourage you to consider, because it's relatively easy to do these days, and it's something we can totally support you on if you get stuck, is start a podcast and have a podcast where you interview people. The reason for that is when you're interviewing folks, you can not only learn about them, you can share value with your audience who listens, you can email out those things, you can repurpose that content in multiple different ways, like we talked about last week on how to repurpose content in your content marketing. But there's 2 really important, valuable things that can happen from it. One is you can drive your listeners to a specific offer. You can say, hey, if you enjoyed the show today, here's what we do, on the podcast with my company, you can check out this. But you can also send your guests to your offer and say, as a thank you for being on my show, I wanted to share with you this opportunity, this offer, this free thing that will lead into something else paid, or I want to take this next step with you. And your guest is going to be much more likely to engage with you and have that conversation because you've just spent a half hour together, an hour, however long your interview show is. When you do that, you're building a relationship and you're able to take it to the next step. If I were to ask you today, what would it be like if I could tell you that you could have 3 very focused conversations each week with people that want to work with you and want to use your services? And, all you have to do is invest, a few hours a week, and you're going to have high level prospects that are willing to spend way more with you. If that sounds attractive to you, then I want to encourage you to explore doing a podcast or some form of, marketing or conversations like that, because that's what happens. My show that I do my interviews on, which I'd encourage you to check out because there's some amazing entrepreneurs on there, is called Today's Business Leaders. And I started that show because I live kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's not a huge entrepreneurial community. There's pieces of kind of where I live that I feel are 10 or 20 years in the past. It's not like Chicago or New York or LA or San Francisco, or Austin. It's not a big tech hub and it's not a big entrepreneurial hub. And I said, well, how can I solve this? So I just said, I want to have conversations with other entrepreneurs. And I did it purely just to build community. But what came out of that is it generated over $500,000 in work and opportunities in business for our company, because I realized that when I'm willing to have a conversation with somebody, sit down and get to know them, 1, they'll trust me more and they may want to work with me, which happened with many guests. Or 2, they'd be like, man, this was so great. I know somebody that needs your help. And so podcasting is a great way to drive highly targeted traffic, both from your guests to your offers and to the listeners who tune in. The second way that you can drive traffic that may seem unusual to some of you, and some of you know this is a great channel, so I'm just throwing it out there because there's a mixed crowd always on this, is use direct mail with a great offer and a QR code. So if you send direct mail out and you say, here's the problem I can solve for you, and it's a targeted offer, it solves one thing, it's super specific, it uses the language that your audience uses, again, which we've talked about in the last few episodes on the show, then they'll get that and they'll scan the code and you'll be able to engage with them. So direct mail is an affordable and highly targeted channel you can use. And if you're not using it yet, there are very, very few businesses that cannot benefit from direct mail. And because everybody's focused on digital, which there's nothing wrong with that, and you can get great results from digital, direct mail has become a more open channel with a little bit less competition. And so there's huge opportunities there. Third unusual way to drive more traffic to your business, and most people don't think about it this way, is to send cold email and offer a resource or a free training. When you do that, you're contacting somebody you've never talked to before, you're sending out cold messaging, and you're going to be able to engage more people and say, like, if you're interested, reply back and I'll send you a link to it. That's typically the best way. You can put links straight in your cold email, but it's best to put a text, simple based email and say, here's something I'd love to share with you. If you're interested, reply back and I'll shoot it over to you. So cold email is another great way to drive traffic. The fourth thing you can do, and this has worked great many times over the years, you definitely need to understand your offer and your market well to do this, is offer a free report on traditional or even internet radio. Say, in this free report, I'm going to show you how to solve this problem. And you need to know that that problem is painful enough, scary enough, big enough that when people hear that, they're going to perk up and say, I want to learn about that. So there's definitely some market testing there. There's market research that needs to be done, but radio is an amazing traffic source when you're willing to test and iterate and use it effectively. With any channel, like we talk about on the show, it's going to take a long-term mindset. It's going to take iteration. It's going to take really learning and sticking in something to make it be successful. But traditional media like radio and direct mail are great options there. The fifth one, kind of going more the traditional route again, is billboards and vehicle wraps can really move your brand forward. There is a local personal injury attorney, local to me here in Cleveland, and he has done what I call a takeover of the city. There's not a highway or major road that I can drive on where I don't see his billboard and his tagline, which is super strong and powerful. And because of that, everybody thinks of him when they need a personal injury attorney. And he is dominating his market by using traditional media, billboards, which people don't think about. So the main point of today's show is to ask you to think differently. There are other ways to drive traffic to your offers. You don't and should never be dependent on a single channel, because that's just super risky. And if you're willing to just look at what are other people doing, or what things am I getting in my mailbox, my physical mailbox, what billboards do I see, what people listen to the radio, both traditional, and internet radio. How can I leverage a podcast or a call-in show? There's so many different ways to not only put great content out there, but also to attract great folks to your offers when you think about unusual or different ways to drive traffic. If you need help with any of this, we're here to serve and help you. You can comment below, you can message me, or you can go to businessmarketingengine.com. I appreciate you taking time to tune in today, and I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's show.